About 20 years ago, I went to the magical world of a flea market.
What's a flea market?
You know what a flea market is?
He's rich.
It's like the yard sale, but like everyone comes together.
He's rich. He doesn't know that.
I went to the magical world of a flea market. And I was rummaging through like just some boxes and stuff and whatever. It was like one of those dollar boxes where everything in it's $1, just pick out whatever. And I found a CD. You all know what a CD still is?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I found a CD, and it was one of those like self-help, like kind of like motivational kind of CDs, with like a financial advice kind of thing, whatever. I was about 20 years old, and I thought, well, shoot, for $1, I'm gonna give it a whirl. So I bought it for $1. I was driving a old beat-up Chevy truck that had a CD player in it, and so I plugged that thing in. I started listening to it on my crackly bad speakers. And the first thing this guy says, he says, if you hear nothing else what I say to you today, hear this. It's all your fault. And I'm like, what? That's what I said. I'm like, what? This guy doesn't even know me. How? And he's on this CD and he's like telling everyone, it's all your fault. And I'm like, I almost ejected the CD and like winged it out my truck window. But I thought, well, I'm still going down the road. I'm not going to just chuck a CD out the window. I'm going to listen a little bit. Well, what he started to do, he started to explain what personal responsibility was. He started to explain that things that happen in life, things that go bad, things that even go good, ultimately, they're all on me. They're all on you. And he explained what personal responsibility is. And that really taught me what that meant, because I had fallen into the trap, I had fallen into the lie of victimization. I would want to pull out my victim card whenever I could, when it was convenient. And what he taught me was, look, if you're going to succeed or if you're going to fail, it's all on you. It doesn't matter what happened with your daddy. It doesn't matter what happened with the government. It doesn't matter what happened with the economy. It doesn't matter even what happened with your health. It doesn't matter what happened with other relationships. Ultimately, at the end of the day, when you go to bed at night, what you did that day and what you did that week and what you did that year, it's all on you. It's all on you. Now, he did admit that there's things outside of us that can affect our lives, right? Like there's things that we have to work through. People can hurt us, right? People can betray us. Things can happen that are bad. Storms can come and knock down houses, and car accidents happen, and illness happens, and things like that. But ultimately, those things do not dictate our future. We do. We have to work through what we're faced with. I'll never forget that $1 CD, because when I was 20 years old, maybe even 19, it quite literally changed my life, because I had fallen into victimization. I had fallen into, well, I wasn't raised the way I should have been raised, or we didn't have enough money, or I didn't have the opportunities that other people had, or et cetera, et cetera. So then, therefore, I said, it wasn't my fault of where I ended up. It was society's fault. It was my circumstances' fault. I just remember that just totally changed my life, and it put me on a path of self-sufficiency. It put me on a path of, you know what? This guy's right. If I'm going to succeed, I need to say, yes, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to fight through those difficult times. Or I can live a different way. Or I can say, I'm just a victim to my circumstances, and whatever comes my way is what I'm going to deal with. And I guess it's not up to me. How many in here, don't name names, but how many in here, raise your hand, knows someone that constantly talks about being the victim? You know what I'm talking about? That's most of you. All right, put your hands down. Raise your hand without naming a name if you know somebody that never says they're the victim, and they do this personal responsibility stuff, and you know what they're doing. Who knows someone like that? See, less of you. I believe you though, but less of you. Okay. Victimization or victim mentality, it's actually a syndrome. I don't know if you knew this or not. It's a learned psychological disorder. What's the important word in that? Learned. It's a learned psychological disorder. You're not born with it. You're not born with victimization or victim mentality, but it's learned through two things: personal trauma, okay, or it's taught by a primary influencer, like a parent or a grandparent or a guardian. Having victim mentality means that you see problems in your life as consequences of external factors, things that happen on the outside. So now I have to deal with this in myself. I'll get to you in just a second, Aiden. In other words, it's all not my fault, but what? Their fault. It's all their fault and never what? My fault, right. Blaming others is how someone with victim mentality, blaming others is how they get through life. They always blame others for where they find themselves at. They justify where they're at in life by blaming others. That's what someone with victimization or victim mentality has. Aiden, you got a question?
Yeah, is there a way that you can inflict it on yourself? Is there a way that you don't learn from somebody, but just make it a habit, you turn it into a habit?
Mm-hmm.
Do it on your own, you don't learn from somebody, you know what I'm saying?
So personal trauma. Yeah. So personal trauma, so something bad happens to you, okay? Something bad happens to you, whatever. And maybe you're even being taught by that primary influence, like a mom or dad or whatever, to not go down the path of victimization, but you internalize that trauma or that bad thing that happens to you, and you say, oh, I'm just gonna get beat up again. Oh, it's me, I'm the problem. And it just keeps happening, keeps happening to me, and it's going to keep happening to me. That's victim mentality that you can bring on yourself.
You think about it in a way, you tell somebody not to do something.
You can tell someone all day long not to do this, but it's up to you to come out of it, and I'm actually gonna share with you how to come out of it, okay? All right. So blaming others is how someone with this victimization or victim mentality, blaming others is how they justify where they find themselves, especially if they're in a bad spot, okay? This could be your parents, this could be your peers, this could be the courts, the laws, the rules, or just how the world is. Many people learn to identify as victims through helpless childhood trauma. And why is that legitimate? Because when you're a child, you truly are what? I just said the word, starts with H, what? Helpless, right? So when you're an actual young child, do you have really any control of what happens to you, like where you're born and your home or anything like that? Say when you're 3 years old, do you have any control? Zero. So that helpless childhood trauma is legitimate trauma. And were you legitimately victimized? Yes. But the danger is when you take that childhood trauma and you bring it into your adolescence and you bring it into your young adulthood and even older adulthood, and you say, that's just who I am. I'm always the person that gets the short end of the stick, always has the bad luck. Have you ever heard of the phrase snake bit? You ever heard that? Like that guy's snake bit? Okay, I'm totally old, correct, Caleb? Yes, I am. I know. So when someone is snake bit, it basically means that they have toxicity running through their veins, basically, and it means whatever they touch is going to break. That's the phrase anyway. Okay. So it can happen through helpless childhood trauma if you carry it along into your adolescence, young adulthood, that sort of thing. Because when we were very young children, we were truly helpless. It was a legitimate victimization. But people that have this now learned psychological disorder, this victimization or victim mentality, they have not found a way to cope with their past trauma. Does that make sense? Yes. I would say it this way, a little bit different. They haven't found a healthy way to cope with their past trauma. Give me one example. What's an unhealthy way that people deal with their past trauma that kind of works for a moment?
Smoking.
Or any kind of substance abuse. Is that what you're gonna say, Isaiah? That's why people get into substance abuse. Because they don't feel good in a certain way. They don't want to feel this, so they want to find some sort of escape from it. So oftentimes substances, it's quick, it's easy, it's pretty cheap now, like a lot cheaper than when I was a kid. And for a moment, it what? It works, doesn't it? But the problem, it is a crutch, because then you come out of that high or that low, whatever you're doing, and then you're faced with the reality of what? Your problems with life, it's still there. Why do you think people who are addicted to alcohol, alcoholics, keep drinking? Because they get sober, right? They're drunk, they get sober, they look at it around, they look at their life, it's still bad. So what do? They drink some more. And it's a vicious vicious cycle. People with victim mentality, they typically have a pretty negative view on life and on the world. And this negative view orients around not having what? It's what the little child doesn't have. No? What? Choice, or what's another thing they don't have because they don't have choice? What? Freedom to control is what I was looking for. Control. They don't have control. So they don't like the situation they're in. They don't like, it could be relational, it could be physical, it could be emotional, whatever. And they feel like they don't have any other choice, so they use substances or some other sort of bad coping mechanism. Junior, do you have a question, sir? Those two what? I've said a lot, brother. What's that? Say it one more time. A child doesn't have control. Doesn't have control. So therefore, they legitimately are victimized. Just control. I was looking for control. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So a person with victim mentality, they don't have a sense of control. They see the world and their life circumstances as like waves in a sea, and kind of like you're a little lost ship out in the sea. You're just being thrown around. You have no control. And so if a ship out in the middle of a sea, in a stormy sea, if it's going to move somewhere, what's going to move it?
The sea.
The sea itself, correct? But someone, and we're going to get to it here, the answer to this, someone who doesn't have victim mentality, how would they see, how am I going to get from point A to point B? Is it going to be the waves themselves, or is it going to be something else?
Something else.
What is that something else?
Society.
What would you say, Devin? Right, what controls the boat? Maybe sails on a sail ship or the motor. Now you still have to go up and down on the waves, right? You have to use or travel the waves, but all of a sudden you have the helm, right? You can as much as you can, but you still have to affect your life with the waves, but you're in control of the destination. Just think about a ship that doesn't have sails, that it's ripped up, maybe the motor's broke. Can you get from point A to point B on your own volition at all? No, you're only going to be moved by the waves itself. And that's how someone with victim mentality goes through life. They just go from wave to wave to wave. And they don't even know where they're going. They don't have no point A to point B. They're just aimless, is a good word to use. Someone with victim mentality can be summed up in 3 core beliefs. You ready? Number 1 is bad things happen to me, no matter what I do. They believe that bad things are going to happen to them no matter what they do. And these bad things, this is the second core belief, and these bad things are other people's fault, not mine. Core belief number 2. Core belief number 3, and those bad things, they're never going to change. So therefore, why should I what? Even try. That's right. Please don't think in any way that I am belittling anyone's pain or trauma. I'm not. Everyone has gone through some pretty amazing pain and trauma, even in this room, even the adults in this room, even the staff. I've felt trauma. I've felt pain as well. Don't think that ever I'm belittling pain and trying to tell you guys just to get over it. I would never tell anyone when I'm counseling them, when I'm mentoring them, when I'm teaching them, whatever it is, to just get over it. What I would say is process through it in a healthy way. That's what I would say. That's what I would say. Terrible things have happened to us. I get that. Terrible things have happened. And my heart hurts right along with you. But how far am I going to allow my aggressors, how far am I going to allow my abusers to control my future or my destination? How far am I going to allow my past to what? Control my future. If I'm allowing my past to control my future, I really don't have control over my future. That's a wave that's hitting me. Who in here, you can raise your hand, who in here wants the person or people that hurt you, or even your abuser, say it that way, Who in here wants your abuser to control your future? Is anybody? Okay, then I might see a question. Then why do so many people do it? Then why do we allow it? Why do we allow it? If you have an abuser, if you have something in your past, a person in your past that hurt you, and you're allowing that pain, you're allowing that trauma to change who you are into your future, are you not allowing what happened or that person to control your future? You are. And that's the danger. And that's the tragedy of falling into victimization and believing that this world is only out to get me and believing that I have no control. I guarantee you have a whole lot more control than you realize, especially at your age. Victim mentality does not allow us to get very far in life. Victim mentality permeates. Do you know what permeate means? It like spreads. Is that what you're gonna say, Gabe? That's what you're gonna say, right? Yeah, releases or it spreads, right. It permeates into other aspects of your life. Victim mentality, victimization, if you fall into this, your dreams will not come true because bad things are gonna happen. If you're pursuing a goal or a dream, I guarantee you bad things are gonna get in your way. I promise you they will. And a victim will say, a victim mentality type person, they'll start going for a dream, they'll start going for a goal, and the first bad thing that comes in their way, they're gonna say, oh, I'm out, I can't do it. And they leave the path of the dream, they leave the path of the goal. If you fall into victimization, your dreams will never be realized, your opportunities and your advancements will just be thrown away. Challenges and projects and accomplishments, they will go unrealized, I promise you they will. You'll be a man without a purpose. Does a ship in the sea that has no motor and sails, does it have a purpose?
Yes.
What's the purpose? The answer's no, Gabe, that's okay though. I'll ask it again. Does a ship in the sea with no sails and no motor, does it have a purpose? No.
Does it float?
Well, it might be floating. It's alive. It's alive. And here's what's fun. If this is a learned psychological disorder, what does that imply? That it can be what? It can be unlearned, right? That's what you're looking for, Gabe. I know you were. I knew you were. And here's the solution. You ready? I hope I've kind of painted kind of a bleak picture of victimization. That was the intent. I hope that you realize that victimization, victim mentality leads down a path of darkness and woe. And do you guys remember from before when I said a man without a purpose is, you show me a man without a purpose and I'll show you a man who is what? Do you guys remember that?
Lost. Forgot it.
Starts with the D.
Depressed.
Depressed.
Day.
Who in here has felt depression? Who in here has really felt depression? I'm not sure if you have. I'm not trying to belittle pain, but I don't know if you really understand what real depression is. Here's the answer, you ready? Here's a solution. Here's how to put your sails up. Here's how to fix that motor. Here's how to have that purpose so you don't become depressed. Here's how to fix victimization. You ready? What was the guy in the CD talking about?
It's all your fault.
What was he really talking about? 2 words. Personal responsibility. Personal responsibility. That is the solution. Personal responsibility is this. You ready? It's when 2 parts of your life intersect. What you should do meets what you can do. And right there at the intersection, that is personal responsibility. What you should do is pretty easy. There's rules, there's laws, you know how the world works, you know what to do at school, you know what to do at the houses, you know what to do around your peers, you know what to do with staff, you know what to do. That's really not the issue. It's rare, now it does happen, but it's rare for someone to get in trouble because they didn't know of a law or didn't know of a rule or a general idea of what it was. There's common sense rules, then there's specific rules, right? When you guys came to Pineview, and a couple of you are like brand new to Pineview, there's some rules that you had to learn. Okay, I do this at lunchtime, I do this at bedtime, okay, there's specific things, but there's a much broader general sense of how the world works and functions. There's rules and laws that you already do know. You didn't have to be taught them, correct? Because you had them from childhood into adolescence, right? What you should do meets what you can do. Let me give you an example. In school, a teacher says, here's the assignments. A teacher says, here's the class that you're taking. Here's the subjects. Here's what you're supposed to do, okay? Now I know what I should do, correct? Now, what am I going to do with it? When you do your work in school and you do it right, what are you practicing?
Personal responsibility.
Personal responsibility. When you're in the houses and you know the house rules and you're about ready to say something that you know you shouldn't say because, man, that kid is really annoying me, but you decide not to and you back off, what have you just done? Personal responsibility. What you should do meets what you can do. And when you choose what's right, when you choose what's good, you have just accomplished personal responsibility. I know some of you don't know this because you weren't here for it. What 3 classes of people or types of people are men responsible for? Tell me, Jackson. Nope. Do you remember? Nope. You remember?
I know one of them is men.
Okay, women is one. You remember, Gabe?
Women, children, and the weak.
Very good. Women, children, and the weak. You got part of it. That's all right. Women, children, and the weak. So when you have opportunity, if you know that's what you should do, and you have opportunity for your grandma, for your mom, for your aunt, for a sister, whatever. I'm not saying you're not responsible for men too. Maybe they're part of the weak. Maybe it's a younger child that'd be, compared to you, that'd be weaker, right? I'm going to get to that, I promise. I promise I'm going to get to that. So you know what to do, and then you have opportunity when you go on a home visit or when someone visits you or whatever, and what you should do intersects. You've just practiced what? Personal responsibility. Very good. We don't always have the means to fulfill what we can do because we're not there yet. And that's part of personal growth. So you continue to work on yourself. You may lack some resources, maybe education, finances, whatever it may be. And so you're starting to work on yourself, and this is exactly what Jackson was saying. This enters in the 4th person that you're responsible for. And who is it, Jackson? It's yourself. It's yourself. Being real men means we own up to our own failures. We own up to our own lives. If we mess up, it's on us. If we mess up, it's on us. If I decide to take my car down the highway and go and have fun one day, just go 100 miles an hour, just go flying down the highway,
Oh yeah, you're getting arrested.
and a cop radars me, and he pulls me over, and I pull over voluntarily, and I pull over, right? And he comes up and he gives me a ticket. What can't I say?
You can say whatever you want. No, you can say whatever you want, but
I'm still going to face the consequences, right? What I can't say is it's the cop's fault for him catching me and pulling me over, and he caught me, therefore it's his fault I got the ticket. I can't say that.
you could say that, but it wouldn't be right.
It wouldn't be right. I'm not going to say whatever I want, right? But it wouldn't be right. He's going to say, bro, I didn't tell you to speed. I'm just holding you to the line of the rules. We live in a society, and there's rules for a reason. There's laws for a reason, whether we agree with them or not.
What if the speed limit is 70, you're on 72? He pulls you over.
Technically, I'm over the speed limit, right? And you know, that's beside the point. But my example was 100 miles an hour, right?
Hey, Rodney, bro, why would you run, bro? You know what
I'll tell you exactly why I went run, because I'm not a fool. That's why I went run. It's my fault if I got the ticket. It's not the cop's fault because he caught me, right? So now the same thing would apply. We talked about school for a minute. Same thing would apply the other way around. Let's say you have a class, right? And you know the assignments, you know what to do. And you work hard. You work hard in that class, you do your assignments, you study for the test, you get good grades on the test, you get a good grade in that class. Now all of a sudden, whose fault is that? Is it the teacher's because the teacher was teaching? Or is it yours? It's yours, right? It's your not, I wouldn't say fault at that point, but you get to reap the benefits of working hard. It goes both ways. That again is personal responsibility, which is the antidote for victim mentality. I had a couple hands raised. Tyler?
Typically it would be both because the teacher had to learn it in order to teach you, and then that means they must have gotten good grades.
If they're a good teacher, right. I get that. Like a teacher can set you up for success. Is that basically right? But at the end of the day, the teacher's not going to do the homework for you, correct? They're not going to take the tests for you.
I wish.
Same with the cop on the highway. He's teaching what the laws are, right? There's signs along the highway that says 75 miles an hour, right? Or whatever road you're on. And so I'm being taught that's the rule, that's the line. But if I decide to cross that line, it's on me if I pay the consequences. It's also on me if I reap the benefits of not crossing the line on a negative way, right? Of not getting a ticket, etc. And if you don't get tickets, you get better insurance premiums. You don't have to pay as much insurance. Jackson?
Is abiding a real word?
Abiding?
No, abiding.
Say it again.
Abiding.
Abiding? Abiding?
Like law and abiding.
Like law abiding? Yeah.
I thought it was like a law-abiding citizen.
Yeah, law abiding. It means you abide by the law. You live by. You're abiding with it. So if you abide in a house, you're living in the house. Yeah, abiding. Got it? Oh, abiding? No, abiding.
Rodney, so you live by the law?
Imperfectly.
You be letting me for you not be going 80 miles on the highway.
Imperfectly. I abide by the law imperfectly. Okay, let's see here. Where am I at? Da, 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 da. Said that.
So you're done?
Calm yourself, Gabe. Calm yourself. All right, what time is it? Okay. All right, that's good enough. All right, I'm going to shut this off so you guys don't have to worry about this.